Good morning, everyone. Outdoor hospitality, accessibility, and marketing. Today, we're going to talk with Randy Hendrickson about outdoor hospitality, accessibility, and marketing and what you need to avoid. And then we have a couple other topics we'll bring up. But let's start right there. Welcome, Randy. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well. It's a really significant thing
Yeah.
because you and I are certainly very committed to accessibility through our accessible retreat. We become very well acquainted with Lorraine Woodward at Becoming Rentable. She has an amazing listing platform that where she goes through a checklist of accessible features, and you can list your property on her website. So somebody who has a disability, a limiting physical disability of some sort, cognitive disability, can go there and find something that's been absolutely vetted and approved with a checklist of those accessible features. The value is the guest has no unexpected hiccups. They know what they're getting. So that's the purest form of marketing is telling the truth, right? So what happens in the industry, and it's happened forever, is that by omission versus commission, nobody perhaps means to do this. You might own a property and think that you are accessible. You might have a sink where somebody could roll underneath the sink and say, well, that's accessible. But if you've got six stairs going down to a gravel walkway, you are far from accessible. They can't get inside to what is accessible if what's outside limits them getting in. So the real life experience for this is a couple of years ago, I was at an abilities.com conference and posted a discussion thread about mobility disability challenges in staying in accommodations. And the number one thing was they say one thing and they'll even show pictures of one thing. And when I get there, it's something different entirely. The guest is deflated. They're not happy. And again, sometimes people just don't know. I mean, you had a marketing agency forever, and then job number one is say who you are and don't overpromise, right? And know who you are, stay within your lanes, tell the truth. And that's that. And again, it's not like people are lying. They just don't know that they're
Yeah.
not in compliance.
Yeah. I think the most important thing, I mean, as you're speaking, I'm thinking how a lot of people might be hiring a marketing agency and they may look at the situation at high level, and say, well, here are the things we can leverage to advertise or to market, and these are the benefits. And
Mhm.
yet that you're really cheating everybody, including yourself, when you do that. And I think when the most powerful thing you just said was you have to know yourself.
You
You
do.
have to know yourself in relation to what you are, the service you're offering, which means you also better know who you're serving, right? So yeah, it gets very nuanced. People really don't like to show up and not be delivered to. I mean, can you imagine what you go through to get to a property in the first place? And then you get there and your hopes are built up, and then you're just like flat. You can't even get into the place, or you can't get to the place, or whatever the obstacle is. Just awful.
Well, and you just made, I think, perhaps the most valuable point of accessibility within the marketing world, because if you just take any property out there, in particular outdoor hospitality, and you have amazing, beautiful pictures that have been professionally done, which you should have on your website, obviously.
Right.
But you've got professional photographers telling a certain story, and you're choosing amazing words to talk about the life-changing, transformative experience. There's an expectation that's built when you book that reservation.
Hmm.
Now, when you show up and it doesn't look like what you saw on the website, there's a deflation that happens with that. But to your point, compound that by a mobility challenge of some
Hmm.
sort of a disability. It takes a lot of effort, and the expectations are even greater because of the scarcity of accessible
That's right.
accommodation. When you do find the one that says accessible, you think, great, I found one. And then to show up and find out that you can't even access it because of a stairway, think about that deflation to your point.
Yeah, because it happens to all of us. but this is the impact is so much more devastating. Yeah. So, okay. So definitely that's one thing to avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid not knowing your audience, you know? And in marketing, we talk a lot about that. Like you've got to know your avatar. Who are you serving?
Right.
So without knowing who you are serving and what they need. Now, so with the accessibility or the accessible retreat, we've gone to a great extent to solve that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the collaboration that you and I and Charlie Boyne have had with our architect and with Lorraine Woodward has been, as I think you and I both agree, an amazing journey during which we have learned plenty. The things I thought I knew, I did not know. So having the expert like Lorraine to kind of walk us through that was incredibly enlightening. We learned a ton. The good news for a campground owner out there is we are going to be doing some educational materials where Lorraine will be talking about accessibility. You and I will be talking about the impact in the camping industry. And that's the cure is always education, right? And so
Hmm.
we're very, very cognizant to get these kind of resources out to the industry so that we can eliminate some of that gray area. And here's what I can and can't say. This is what it really means to be accessible. And again, to your point, 52 points of accessibility. We've met all those criteria. We have the first accessible unit in the industry, but it goes beyond that, right? So once again, the benefit to a campground owner is we're not saying you have to buy our accommodations, but if you have existing accommodations, talk to Lorraine Woodward and find out how accessible you are, and she can counsel you. And once you do get to the point where you're accessible, now you're on her website where the guest has the expectation. If I book through Becoming Rentable, it will be accessible. And here's where we match. So when you match expectations to reality, that's a great day.
That's a great day. Now, what are the advantages then if you actually have this unit that truly is accessible? How does it benefit you to market that as a campground or an RV resort? What are the benefits then of
Well,
marketing appropriately? How's this going to help my revenue? In other
uh,
words,
demonstrably. So I mean, this is something that just it absolutely blows my mind because having
yeah.
run a lot of properties for a lot of years, and any one of you out there who's listening to this, you have a property, you're always figuring out where's my ad spend? Is it Google AdWords? So I need to be in this publication or that. And what are you doing? You're trying to raise your voice higher than the rest of the chorus. Everybody else is advertising there as well. So you either have to outspend them, out message them, or something like that. It's very competitive for the same end user. So let's remove a whole bunch of that and say that 26% of our population has a mobility challenge, a cognitive disability. That's 70 million people. And guess what? They're not being marketed to right now. And again, if they are, it's inaccurate marketing by omission, not commission. So any campground out there that wants to reach 70 million potential guests by doing the right thing and making sure you are accessible, look at that economic impact for your property. It's almost mind-boggling to think about what the opportunity is. And again, by telling the truth.
By telling the truth, and you'll be able to market in the same way that we are having this conversation right now,
That's
which
right.
is educating everyone out there and differentiating yourself by hitting all those marks. You know, you don't have to meet every single criteria that Lorraine talks about, but the more we can get people on board with this, and then you can share through your marketing, that also educates everyone. So to your benefit, people will pay, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you pay?
Gratefully.
I mean, yeah, like to have the experience. We all do this in whatever area interests us. We will pay whatever to have the experience that is valuable to us.
That's
So
right.
imagine the opportunity for your property.
Yeah, you get we all want grateful customers, right? We want somebody to say, I didn't expect this in a good way. This exceeded my expectations. We all want that. with this particular type of accommodation, this particular type of accessibility, I would argue that you may not ever have a more happy guest than one who's been met where they are about what they require in their stay. You're going to have a lot of lofty praise, and that's going to be all over your marketing too, because guess what? You listened and you accommodated. It's a great way to go about business.
Yes, it is. I think we could talk all day about this, and
Oh,
we will be talking a lot about this.
yeah.
So, encourage all of you to just reach out if you have questions, and we'll have Lorraine's contact information below in the description as well. And we want everybody on board with this. It's a win-win-win any way you look at it.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Randy, for being here. Have a beautiful week, everyone.
Bye for now.